So, like, when was the last time Saturday Night Live was ever really funny? I've been trying to figure it out. I mean, was it like, you know, do you have to go back to the Adam Sandler, I don't know, Will Ferrell maybe is pretty good, but Eddie, maybe further back than Eddie Murphy, maybe even back to the original cast, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, and those guys. But then I started thinking maybe it wasn't even all that funny back then. Maybe I just thought it was funny because I was a middle school boy. But I think we all agree it really hasn't been funny on a regular basis for years. And yet America keeps watching. And yet I keep watching week after week. Isn't that one of the definitions of stupidity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results?
Insanity.
Insanity. Okay. I need medication. And so, you know, how can we have? And you know, they have the best humor writers in the country writing for them. And how can, you know, with all these great minds, all this creativity, putting the show together, and how can they come up with such mediocre results? And I think it's because writing good comedy is just that hard. I really think it is. Think about the, oh, and by the way, if you didn't get the email, the title of today's talk is More Cowbell, okay? And you'll find out more about that in a little bit. But think about that sort of thing, late night comedians, you know, like you know, the weekday guys, Fallon, Leno, Letterman, and all that. And when you sit down, and they're pretty good, and I enjoy them, but when you sit down and count the number of jokes in the monologue that are really funny, you realize actually most of the jokes in the monologue fall flat. They're helped out a little bit because there are signs, electric signs in the audience that tell in the studio that tell the audience when to clap and laugh and all that. But even for the best comedians in the business, being a comedian, I think, is a lot like being a professional baseball player. If you're batting 300, you're a superstar. So why do we watch something with that kind of failure rate, really? Well, I think because at the end of a long day, I think we're just that desperate for a good laugh. And when the good laugh does come, it was worth the wait. It was worth everything else. I've been thinking about the importance of fun after, actually, two things. This is called More Cowbell, ironically, because I got the title from the last time Giancarlo played with us, when he played a song and broke out the cowbell, and Chris went to town on the cowbell, and it was one of the most memorable days we've ever had. In fact, Chris should not do a cowbell today because there's no way to top what he did. Okay, I don't think it's repeatable, Chris. I don't know, maybe someone else. I don't know. Who knows? But or maybe Chris. Maybe a lot of people. But you know, then that got me thinking about the famous Will Ferrell skit, which if you haven't seen it, just Google Cowbell, and it's one of the best skits of all time. But something else that got me thinking about the importance of fun in our lives was stumbling across an op-ed piece in the New York Times entitled "Let the Poor Have Fun." And the author raised some points I hadn't really thought of exactly the way he had put them. And I want to read you just an excerpt from this op-ed piece and then kind of do a riff on this. And this is the opening paragraph. So it's entitled, "Let the Poor Have Fun." They can't do without the farmer story. When people who wish to transform India through the internet talk about their plans, they tend to tell a story that goes something like this. A poor farmer is about to sell his crop very cheap when someone, often a smart adolescent granddaughter, checks the market price online and the farmer makes a more informed decision. It appears that technology executives feel they must treat the internet as something deeply noble and serious in order to substantiate its importance in an impoverished nation. Facebook's founder Mark Zuckerberg said last month that the goal was to, quote, create a backbone for many things, including access to information about healthcare, education, jobs, and just so many good things. Too many people assume that what the poor want from the internet are the crucial necessities of life. In reality, the enchantment of the internet is that it's a lot of fun. And fun, even in poor countries, is a profound human need. A lot of good can come from people setting out in pursuit of joy. I love that line. A lot of good can come out from people setting out in pursuit of joy. Exactly. Smartphones and iPads and laptops could do a lot to improve a lot of life in impoverished parts of the world, but it's also possible that many of these people just want to play Candy Crush. And what's wrong with that? I mean, if everybody in Afghanistan were addicted to Candy Crush, it would make recruiting for the Taliban a lot more difficult. You want to go kill some infidels today? No, dude, I'm about to get to the next level. There might be something to this. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to go on service projects to some really kind of difficult parts of the world. I'm sure many of you have traveled to third world countries, which I don't like that term, but anyway. But on my first trip to a really poor place, and I'd be interested to hear, you've had similar experiences. My first trip to a very poor nation, I went with a lot of first world kind of preconceived notions of what I would see. People sitting around, being all sad and morose and hungry and flies buzzing around. And what I found out was that folks in really poor places live an awful lot the way you and I do, only with a lot less stuff. But like the facts of daily life are pretty similar. I mean, they laugh with their neighbors, they gossip, they tell jokes, and children everywhere in the world can make games out of the simplest objects, and they find a way to have fun. Once I was in a slum in a South American city, and the neighborhood was having some kind of festival that night. And at dark, everybody in the neighborhood gathered in this large vacant lot, which is the closest thing they had to a park. And they brought out this elaborate tower made out of bamboo. And it was rigged with fireworks. And there was a series of fuses starting at the bottom, and they worked their way up the tower of bamboo. And it was like kind of a Rube Goldberg contraption where the fuses would set off a series of different fireworks leading all the way up to the grand finale, which burst out at the top. And there were like wheels with spinning sparklers and bottle rockets and smoke bombs and flares. And it was getting a little bit dangerous because everybody was standing way too close to this thing. And we were getting showered with sparks, and some of the bottle rockets, we had to duck some bottle rockets because they misfired, and which only caused more laughter and excitement in the crowd. And I think, a few fingers and eyes may have been lost that night, but there's always going to be collateral damage. And it was like mayhem. People were drinking and they were singing. And in the midst of all this mayhem, I found myself thinking, I have never lived in a neighborhood in the United States that ever had this much fun at one. No, that wouldn't happen here. You have to get, clearance, from the homeowners association, everything else. And, but the fact is that wherever humans gather, wherever they gather, rich, poor, doesn't matter, north, south, east, west, fun and silliness will eventually break out. And it's just how we deal with life. I have a suspicion that one of the main reasons, unspoken reasons, that people go to wedding receptions in Texas is the chance to do the chicken dance. Because when it happens at almost every wedding in Texas, and when the music for the chicken dance starts, it's like this is the moment they've been waiting for. Everybody hits the dance floor. And it's easy to understand why. Because the chicken dance is a very low pressure dance. There are set movements to the chicken dance, so you don't have to improvise. The chicken dance is inherently silly, so you don't have to worry about looking elegant or smooth on the dance floor.
Can you show us?
I volunteer Chris to do that. It has to be recorded for posterity. We can all do it together later. But you know what I mean? And the other thing is, it's a group dance, so it's not a dance where you need a partner, so there's no fear of rejection. Everyone's accepted, no strings attached at the chicken dance. And so one of the things I've started to appreciate in my readings about evolution and how we came to be is that, evolution isn't just, the shape of our bodies and how we came from fish to getting legs and everything. But I'm appreciating more and more how, absolutely everything that we do or think is a product at some ultimate level of evolution. And there is an evolutionary reason for the chicken dance. So I've been doing a little reading, and this is a quick summary on the evolution of fun, just a few highlights. First of all, anyone who's ever owned a dog, cat, or even been to a zoo knows that playfulness is rampant throughout the animal world. We've seen it, we played with our dogs, and for most animals, the thinking is play is practice. It's play fighting, play chasing, play running away. It is practicing some of the most important skills that animals will need to survive, to eat and not be eaten. In humans, the theory is that playfulness also functions as an indication of youthfulness and as a general fitness indicator. Of course, when we talk about play for humans, we're not just talking about doing the chicken dance and physical playfulness, because play for us also involves the mental play, which is creativity. Mental playfulness, which is just as important. Testing has shown that creativity, so playfulness and creativity is a pretty good indicator of general intelligence, and there's some evidence that supports a link between general intelligence and biological fitness. Creative people delight us because they are full of surprises. They produce novelty. And an attraction to novelty runs very deep in animal brains. Our brains are prediction machines. We are constantly running this internal model of the world, and when something deviates from that model, we pay attention. The technical term for that is a word called neophilia. I can write it up here. It's a word you'll never use. Actually, it sounds like a terrible word. Okay, but that's, it's not just in humans, it's all animals have this attraction to novelty. If something deviates from the expected pattern, we pay attention, and so we're constantly seeking novelty. Darwin thought that novelty seeking was a huge factor in mate selection, and it turns out, as with so many things Darwin, subsequent research reinforced his earlier hunches that he really didn't have, the experiments to back up. But it happens again and again with him. And recent research has shown that, females of several species of birds have been found to prefer males who know more songs and have more different types of songs in their repertoire, more diversity, more novelty in their repertoire. Which, of course, explains why so many teenage boys want to learn guitar and be in the band. That's what it's about, pretty much. So, of course, they don't know that that's what it's about, but, that's what's driving it. Okay? So clearly, from an evolutionary perspective, fun is serious business. And we know that for children, having large chunks of unstructured playtime is crucial for developing social skills, creativity, problem-solving abilities. We know this is huge. One psychiatrist was commissioned by the state of Texas he did a pilot interview of 26 convicted murderers in Texas, and one of the things he found out was all of them had two things in common. They all came from abusive families, and none of them played as children. Oh man, time just flies. With, and this is kind of a digression on this. I think kids, this is just an observation, I might be wrong, but when I was a kid, you got home and you came in the door and you said, "Hi, Mom," and you dropped your book bag, and then you disappeared till sunset. You know, you just went, we explored in the woods, we're going to put coins on the railroad track, you know, get people to buy us chewing tobacco at the corner store, you know, I don't know, we just did stuff. We went out and explored the world, and, you know, we played, you know, and I know in the world that my kids grew up in, time was so much more structured, and they are saying that kids have just super structured lives today. And the jury is out on what the long-term consequences of that could be. It's just a thought. I was talking about, well, it's not, anyway, play isn't just important for kids, play is important for adults. It helps us keep our sanity and can even boost our productivity. So perhaps, as the New York Times op-ed author suggested, perhaps fun is even a basic human right. So, for something that is so vital to our well-being as fun is really crucial. We're desperate for it. You know, why don't we talk about it more? I was listening to the President's State of the Union address on Tuesday, and he had all kinds of wonderful ideas for making America a better place. And I was disappointed that he didn't once mention the importance of us having more fun together. Of course he would. A president of the United States would not do that because he'd be laughed off the podium. But I have and also, I wonder if we have some kind of national built-in suspicion about fun, and this is something we could explore, that's maybe the legacy of religious memes like Puritanism and the Protestant work ethic. But anyway, but if we did pay more attention, what if we paid more attention to the importance of fun as a basic human right? I think there would be implications for everything from public policy to architecture to urban planning. These are just a couple quick observations, you may have others. Everybody I know in Europe gets like 6 weeks of vacation. 6 weeks. They take every day of it. This isn't just for rich people, it's middle-class people with middle-class jobs. They go to really cool places like beaches on the Mediterranean, they go to the Alps. It's amazing. I once met a guy traveling here in the United States who was a hospital orderly in Amsterdam, and he told me that the government of the Netherlands sends him vacation money every year, like in a check. Here's your vacation money, go have fun. And it's, I mean, what a neat approach to life. And one of the things, I mean, I've been hearing is ever since I was a kid, oh, that's an unsustainable model they have in Western Europe, and this might be good now, but it's not, you know, they can't keep doing this. They're still there, they still got their 6 weeks vacation, still going on.
And medical care.
And medical, well, I'm not gonna go there. Another thing I've noticed, we are a 501c3 nonpartisan organization. I will never do anything to jeopardize our coveted tax status. So another thing I've noticed in Europe, at least in every major European city I've ever visited, the streets are lined with mega large sidewalks. And it's restaurants and cafes and bars, I think in Berlin and Unter den Linden, you know, and they're all right next to each other, and the large sidewalks are filled with outdoor seating, and, you know, like parasols, and they sit outside. I mean, this is Germany, this isn't, you know, the weather's like this most of the time. They will sit outside in weeks that are bad weather, and every day, the tables, I would say Berlin, Rome, Athens, wherever, thousands of people filling the tables, lining the streets, sitting there for hours, sipping their coffee, talking, having a smoke, whatever, and it's very easy to get in. All you have to do is sit down and you will end up in a conversation. It's astonishing. And that's for human, like for adults, there again, getting into a good conversation is considered part of our fun, part of our playfulness. It's a mental creativity. And I've never seen anything like it here, really. I mean, Starbucks is a pale imitation, a very pale imitation. But most of our cities and suburbs simply are not designed for that kind of interaction. So urban planning. In the late 1980s and 1990s, the beautiful city of Bogota, Colombia, was overrun by drug violence. You would have been crazy to go there. Now things are much better. The city is filled with tourists, and part of the credit for bringing civility back goes to a philosophy professor who was elected mayor, a man named Antanas Mokas, ex-philosophy professor. And he became known for his silly but effective antics. To help rein in bad behavior, he put mimes on the street corners. Not mines, mimes, like Marcel Marceau. And the performers poked fun at jaywalkers, reckless drivers, and litterers. And it turns out that people fear public ridicule more than they do a police ticket. And it was effective. He turned large sections of the city into a giant block party, cutting off traffic on Friday and Saturday nights. He declared a, quote, night for women, where he told all the men, just stay home, take care of the kids, and let the women go out and party. 700,000 wives and mothers in Bogota went out to celebrate, and they used only female police officers for the event. Yeah. The mayor even took a shower on television to demonstrate how to save water through like a water-efficient showering method. And water usage in Bogota dropped 40%. What I think is really striking about the mayor's approach is that he used humor and creativity to bring about real social change and showed that humans respond so often to the creative and the fun, much more so than we do to the stern, authoritarian, regulatory way of doing things. A couple months ago, Houston Oasis was mentioned at length in an article on Alternet. You can just go to alternet.org and type in Houston Oasis, it'll come up. It's a good piece, you can still see it. And at the end of the article, there's the comments section, where people who read the article can do their, post their say. And a lot of people appreciate what we're doing. A lot don't. There are angry atheists. Well, this is too much like church. Why are they doing this? And then there was, religious people who were just as puzzled. They didn't see the point of it either. And some of the religious people were clearly threatened. So when you're getting shot at by both sides, you're probably doing something right. And while I was reading comments from the atheists and the religious people who said they didn't get why we were doing this, and I was trying to get what was going on here, and I finally thought, you know what? They're missing the point. We're doing this because it's fun. It's fun to come together with great people on a Sunday morning. It's fun to hear some of the best live music in Houston, Texas every week. It's fun to hang out at the wine bar or go hang out and work together on service projects. It's fun is the point. When the great baseball legend Ernie Banks once said, "If they only knew I'd play the game for free." He played the game for the sheer joy of it, and so do we. And it turns out that other people now want to get in on the fun. And on Tuesday, we're going to announce the launch of a new Oasis community in another part of America. And I'm not trying to be dramatic by not telling you where it is, but we promised them that we would do a joint announcement on our website and social media on Tuesday, February 4th. That's the date that they wanted for their planning purposes. And so we're going to announce that together on Tuesday. And I just wanted to share that with you. Number one, we didn't want to steal their thunder. And they're going to be affiliated with us. They're using the name Oasis. And so stay tuned. But I just wanted you to know that what we're doing together is inspiring others. And I don't have a lot of answers for how we can make our society a more fun, more humane, more joyful place for humans to thrive. But I do believe that the Oasis movement could become part of the solution. Thanks for listening. That's all I've got for you today.